Hello, all you marvellous folks. Flax here from flaxformersphotos, and today we're back, baby. New flat, new shelves. What can I say? I'm excited to be back. Got this whole new setup, new phone, so hopefully camera quality is going to be a little bit better. I can already see that moving around is working a lot better than my old phone. It would be really laggy if I moved too quickly. Oh, this is exciting, man. No, for real. I know it's been too long, but it feels really good being back, just talking. Well, to you guys, I know I'm talking to the camera right now, but as you're watching this, talking to you. That's right. Man, what can I say about this? I pre-ordered it back in mid-April as a graduation present. And since ordering it, I have finished uni, graduated, what else? Gotten a job and moved into a new flat. And now it's finally here. So either way, it's the Figma Twilight Princess Deluxe Linky! I've been playing too much Breath of the Wild. I would recommend consulting the very detailed instructions before you try and, I don't know, shove the sword into his gripping hand without realising that you can take the pommel off. But I'd watched a lot of reviews before I got this figure in anticipation of it arriving, so I already kind of knew how everything worked. As long as you just take your time with it all, you're not going to break anything. So without further ado, there he is. Figma Twilight Princess Deluxe Link. I filmed 34 minutes of footage with the camera facing me, but decided that you guys deserved, in fact needed, an up-close look at this guy in all his detail. Because as you can see, everything is so crisp and clean. He's got his yelling face on, one of 3 alternate faces that come with the figure. And just look at the emotion in that. He's got his Ordon sword with him, which I was actually more excited for than the Master Sword, which we'll take a look at in just a moment. Because I love that classic adventurer look, and even though it's quite a simple design, got that nice kind of wrapped hilt, the pommel, got the tang in there, and there is a bit of like paint either chipping or excess. You can see at the bottom of the blade here and along this edge, but to me that just looks like rust or something. You know, this is the basic sword. It's the one you actually start the game with, if I remember correctly, even though, fake fan, I've never played Twilight Princess. I suppose I should talk a little bit about my history with the franchise before we move on. Absolute first exposure to the franchise would be watching an older family friend play Wind Waker on the GameCube. That's how long ago it was. It wasn't the HD remake, it was the actual original, and I watched him play it for hours. He never gave me a go, but, you know, I was enthralled enough by the kind of sweeping vistas and the mountains and the sea and everything. And then a bit later, he lent me his copy of Phantom Hourglass, which I later got my own copy of a few years down the line. In between that time, I was playing the Minish Cap on Game Boy Advance, which I had on an emulator on my phone. Many a GCSE chemistry lesson was spent playing Zelda under the table. And that's not a euphemism. Once I got my 2DS, picked up Ocarina of Time 3D, which is the closest to this design, if not exactly the same. It's that kind of older teen Link, that grittier tone. And then, obviously, recently, who could be a fan of the Zelda franchise having not played Breath of the Wild, which I've put about 130 hours into. I've been meaning to get back to it, and this guy, I think, is going to rekindle that love. But I've got him up on one of the 2 included Figma stands, which I've never come into contact with before. He does stand perfectly fine on his own, as you can see. But what's amazing about these is the screws at each point. It means you can tighten and loosen them as you see fit. Taking him off there and getting him into a more neutral pose for you guys. We can just take a look at all this marvellous detail. I love things like the belt, all the buckles and stuff. Look, even where it kind of, the end of it sort of droops down, like it's actually kind of weighted fabric. It's not just straight, not artificial. It all looks really natural. All the folds in the tunic, asymmetrical design. Things you wouldn't even notice, like this little kind of embroidery at the end, the gold dull kind of almost brassy gold chainmail, it looks like, sort of scales underneath the tunic, which, as the shoulder moves forward, you can see runs through there as well. Detail that you're not even going to see, but it's still there. His earrings are done so crisply, those eyes tampered on amazingly. All the hair is like so nicely done. This is my first time ever handling a Figma figure. Are they just called Figmas? And I can already tell you the level of articulation versus detail is what I've noticed. As you can see, I'm just messing around with it here because it looks so good in pretty much any pose you get it into. Transformers are a pretty good blend of both, I would say. They look, at the moment especially, compared to when I was a kid, some of them look really, really good. Others, the paint is all mismatched and stuff, but you know, they're okay. And obviously their functionality, they transform, so they've got a lot they're trying to work with, but the posability is often, you know, the arms only go to 90. Legs, if you're lucky, will come, you know, out a certain way. And obviously this guy is restricted by this, so my argument is kind of falling apart. But basically those are kind of middle ground on, you know, aesthetics and functionality. Star Wars Black Series, I think, sacrifice, and I think a lot of people consider them to sacrifice the functionality and the articulation for the looks. Just bringing in a Purge Trooper here, who's obviously way taller, but he's basically a glorified statue. His legs, because he's so hindered by this monumental kind of peaked thigh armour, that's as far forward as you're going to get the leg. It just pings back into place. So you're not going to get him running. Knee bend is obviously fine, but if you can't move the top of the leg, you're only going to get him in a walking pose like that. Because of this shoulder pauldron, this arm is completely limited. It basically only moves below the elbow, and the strap underneath the shoulder pauldron means you can't even get it flush with the body. This arm equally restricted by this shoulder pauldron, so you can only get it out that far, and you can move the head. The waist actually isn't that bad, but either way, that's very, very limited, even though he looks incredible. Now Link here, even though it's a simpler design, that doesn't mean it's any less detailed. There's a difference. My point being, despite all of that incredible detail, the posability is still absolutely insane. How many Transformers do you know who can get their arm up, rolled back like that, have it out like this, with the over 90 degrees, well over 90 degrees at the elbow. And this part of the tunic also rolls round. It's separate from the arm. You can see it's just moving freely there. So when you move the shoulder back, you can roll the tunic back round to cover the gap. So what is wrong with this guy? How do the Figma joints hold up? Is he loose? Nope. Steady as an Octorock. Here we have all the accessories that come with what makes this the deluxe mode, including, and limited to, including the ones on the figure at the moment, 4 pairs of interchangeable hands and 3 interchangeable faces, this absolutely huge flail with a die-cast chain, the previously mentioned Ordon sword and scabbard, Master sword and scabbard along with the Hylian shield, this claw shot with the claw on the end of another die-cast chain, the bow, an incredibly razor-sharp arrow, and the Hawkeye. Along with the 2 included stands, this is an absolutely insane array of accessories. Looking at some of the finer details, the claw shot has got this great weathered metal on it. It looks so heavy and old, like he found it in some kind of temple, which, having not played the game myself, I can only assume is exactly where you find it. The Hylian shield has some gorgeous subtle detail with these kind of bezels and screws, but also this embossing up here. And of course, this amazing kind of matte tampo that contrasts perfectly with the more metallic sheen. Even the back has this awesome kind of leather strap and wrapped handle. The Master Sword and scabbard go so nicely together. You have this tiny Triforce crest in here. I love what they've done with the buckle, but also just this scabbard in particular. The embossing up here. The Master Sword makes a handy indicator. all these bolts and everything, they all run to the back. There's no skimping out on the detail here. It's just as clean on the areas that are going to be against the back of the figure. And the sword itself, this is actually not a print, it's actually cut into the plastic. You've got this almost eggshell blue of the tang, with the edge a really bright silver. And these tiny gold accents. Again, this is my thumbnail. I cannot describe better how tiny some of these details are, but how finely and cleanly picked out they are. Even this almost aquamarine wrap on the handle just pairs really well and contrasts with the rest of the colours. And of course the design is just iconic. Special mention goes to the Ordon scabbard, which has just as nice a buckle at the top, with details again running all the way around, but I love this slightly lighter shade of reddish brown in here, almost sand red. And the details are 3D, they are picked out in the actual plastic rather than just with paint, but that tiny added bit of paint just makes the design, again, which carries all the way around, look so cool, and it's a reason that I prefer this almost to the Master Sword. Both swords fit very satisfyingly in their scabbards, and even though both of them fall out, as you can see, the Ordon sword can be persuaded to stay in at the right angle. Besides, they are both going to be upright on the figure anyway, so unless you have him posed upside down, I don't think that's going to be a problem. I just wanted to do a little bit of extra, just to show you guys. RC coaster, you already know. Got Bumblebee over here too. I just wanted to show off a few more of the accessories along with the stand functionality. These stands make Bandai to Machination look like cardboard. But just look at this thing. He's got the Hawkeye on right now, and he's got his special kind of arrow gripping knuckles and bow, kind of arrow resting finger hands on right now. I mean, to say nothing of how good it looks, and I think this pose is pretty banging as well, if I do say so myself. Look at how it's being held up by the stand. It looks anti-gravity, for one, but two, it just came to my mind, this thing is more, the perfect way to describe it is that it is more like a highly posable statue than an action figure or a collectible. It just looks, it looks like you would buy this, like I said, just like this, static, like a statue, and you'd be happy with it. Yet actually looking at it in this pose with the detail and how dynamic it is, knowing that you can take it off the stand, pose it around, put it in any pose you can think of, basically. It just blows my mind. Here he is with his ball and chain, and I love a good dynamic splayed hand. Just for a long shot here, I have had to weigh the stand down to get this chain as straight as possible. You could always pull it for photos. Here he is with the extended claw shot. A little bit finicky to get in the hand, but once you've done it, it fits in there very snugly. And without the chain on it, it doesn't even weigh. You can have the closed claw on the end and it won't weigh the wrist down enough for it to droop. And I've just realised you even get a little sandwich bag to keep your accessories in. This is one of those points in my collecting journey where I step back, look at all I've achieved up to this point, and this stands out among all of it as a real, not just visually or price point wise, but emotionally and like for my own journey, this is a centerpiece and a white whale, holy grail, whatever you want to call it. It's been so long that I've forgotten what I normally say at the end of reviews. It's something in Spanish, it's like, muy bien. It's just come back to me. If you are a regular viewer, maybe you will have been screaming it at the screen. You guys already know, I haven't even put all his accessories on him. You're just looking at the figure right now. I've been showing him off to the camera the entire time because I'm mesmerised. Overall, absolutely positivo. Hope you guys enjoyed. It's really good to be back. I can't get as many new figures as I'd want to because I'm very limited on space here, as you can see. I do have a few pre-orders coming, so new videos will just be subject to whenever they arrive. A lot of them are due in September. We've got Studio Series 86 Sharkticon, the Snake Eyes Alpha Commandos pack coming in September, hopefully all being well, and the Earthrise Seekers I still have on pre-order from Robot Recruits here in the UK. Literally ordered them over a year ago, I think, at this point. Either way, there is stuff in the pipeline, but I don't think I'll be getting many new figures kind of in hand off the shelves because my girlfriend will kill me. With that, this has been the Figma Deluxe Twilight Princess link. Hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at flaxformers_photos, and I hope you all have a great rest of the day.